Greetings, this is attorney author Herman Franck, and welcome to another session of Wife University. Today I want to talk about a subject dear to my heart. It has to do, let me summarize it in one word, loser. And what this subject is about is a huge problem that happens in marriages when wives determine that their husband is a loser. Now, I don't know how many of you have had this experience. I know it all too well. I'll give you an example of this, is my wife absolutely came to this conclusion: you're a loser. And I know other instances of this as well. I know quite a few examples. What is remarkable is how men can be in a fairly accomplished state and yet still be thought of as a loser. And I mean, my own example, I have a Doctor of Law degree. I'm a lawyer. I've been a lawyer for a long time. I've written a bunch of books. I've done radio shows, TV shows. I've done all kinds of stuff in my life. I've traveled the world. I lived in Ukraine. I've got 3 kids I take care of. I have a business I own and operate, a law office. So I'm doing all that, and I've been doing it, for a long time. None of that's like a recent thing. And yet she thinks I'm a total loser. I'm a trial lawyer. I do appellate work. I go to court. I argue cases, and to her, I'm a loser. I want to give you another example of a woman I know. Her husband is a PhD molecular biology from a top university in Beijing. I forgot the name of it. But he's like a, super brain kind of guy. He obtained a position at a university here in USA, and she moved out here with him. And somehow, and I don't know exactly how this happens, but she just got stuck on the idea that he was a piece of garbage. And, she called him a short, fat, stupid idiot. This guy's a PhD in molecular biology. Let me first tell you, wives, it's like, hello, and it's kind of like, well, what do you have? What makes you, how is it that you're not a loser? If I guess that's one thing you could say is, if I'm a loser, what are you? A lot of times the wives that do this are, stay-at-home moms that actually have nothing going on. In other words, it's not like they have these major careers that they're doing, and then they look at their husbands as losers. In fact, I will tell you that the odds are better that a wife would not be calling her husband a loser. If she was working, she would understand the real world a little bit better, and she would understand that, it's not so easy making a living nowadays. I mean, most wives, they just want to have their hand out and just figure, make money, give it to me, I don't want to hear about it. But the reality is, in the year 2013, in the United States of America, we have businesses that are closing down all over. We have highly educated people who cannot find jobs. We have people coming out of college that owe like over $100,000 in student loans that cannot find jobs. It's just not an easy world that we live in. And a lot of times, women can be insulated from that. Like if you're a stay-at-home mom, you may not really understand how hard it is. The other thing is, another part I get the idea of is the man can have many sides to him, and you may know him as having a particular side that you like, and then he has another side that you don't like. I don't want to be too abstract with that. Let me be a little more specific. I'm a lawyer. I go to court. I argue cases to a judge or a jury. I go to the Court of Appeals and I argue cases to judges on the Court of Appeals. That's the career that my wife liked. She wants me to do that, make a lot of money, raise the family, pay all the bills. That's it. You know, and I don't really have a problem with that. You know, it's like, okay, this is what a man does. I don't have any kind of problem with that. I am a man. I've worked my entire life. I grew up on a ranch where, just to give you an idea about me, before I would get to school in the morning, I would have, me and my brother and sister, we would have collectively fed and watered about 1,000 animals. And then I would run 3 miles to school with a really good friend of mine, and I would always get there on time. I was never late. And then I'd go to class all day. And then I would come back, and guess what? Those animals needed to be fed again. So all 1,000 animals had to be fed again. And I was doing that, I think, from about age 7 or 8 or 9. I got my first job as a busboy, which is like a assistant to a waiter. I think I was around 14 or 15. And I worked about 4 nights a week, and I was a really good busboy. I was also a dishwasher. And, I mean, I've just, from that time forward, I have always had a job. I never did not have a job. I went back, I left the ranch, and then later went to live with my real father. The ranch was something my mom did with her second husband. My real dad owned a business, and I worked for his business. I was a sales guy. I went out and sold product for him. And, you know, at age 16, I was driving around going to customers saying, "Hi, would you like to buy this stuff?" Did that through college. I ended up getting into UC Berkeley, which, you know, it's like a top university in the United States. It's like one of the top ones. I graduated with honors. I took the law school admissions test, placed in the upper 2% in the nation, and got into one of our top law schools, Georgetown University. And I'm not trying to just brag, but I'm just saying these are the things I've done in my life. And a lot of times, you know, women don't really respect it or understand, like, what we went through to do that. You know, I graduated from law school with like $100,000 in debt. And I had to, you know, pay that. That's how I got through it. I borrowed. We have a government program that we are able to borrow from, on to, you know, get through it. And it's not easy being a lawyer. You get out and, you know, nobody wants to hire you. You really don't know anything when you're out of law school. So it's hard to get a first job. And a lot of times the first job you get is not a good job. You know, so you're looking for a second job, a third job. I did that for a while. Then I started my own office. But once you open up a law office, you are now in the category of a business owner. And I think one of the dilemmas that a lot of wives have when you're with a husband who is a business owner, you know, you just want him to be a big success. You don't want to hear about his, like, "Oh, honey, these people aren't paying me, and people are quitting on me, and we don't have enough money to cover payroll," and, you know, all the problems a business owner has. A lot of times the wife just doesn't want to hear about it, or certainly will not help. Like, help me out. Help me to become a success. Most women just don't, and I think it's kind of a sad thing, but whatever. But on top of it all, I mean, that part I could accept, like, okay, you stay home and do nothing while I go out and try to do everything. Here's the part where it gets really sad, is when there's not enough money to cover payments, and the wife is just worried to death. She just sits there and worries. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. You know, how do we pay this? How do we pay that? We don't have money for this, and we can't do this, we can't, you know, that's all they're just like little worry warts. So the man is just continually trying his best to make money and make more money and do whatever he can to support everything. So I think this is where this loser thing comes up. The woman looks at the man, you know, and just thinks, God, you're a loser. I ought to be, my husband should be a success. We should have enough money to pay everything. We should not be having these problems. What's the matter with you? So a lot of disrespect can arise from that. Now, in my wife's case, it was an extreme level of disrespect. She's got a little bit of a brain problem or something where she just became vicious. And she's not the kind of just sit around and go, this sucks. Instead, she just started attacking, and her ultimate attack on me, and these were physical attacks. She would scratch me, spit on me, slap me. She took scissors and cut my suits. I don't quite know why she would do that. The ultimate, bad thing for a wife probably would be, I need my suits to go to court, right? I mean, a lawyer has to wear a suit. That's a rule. So if you cut your husband's suit, maybe a Chinese woman could explain that to me, why she did that. But she would cut my suit. She would just be so angry, and me, all I'm doing is going to work, just trying to make enough money and go. And for her, it was just pathetic. It was low. And I've seen this over and over again with other women, they just totally lose respect for their husbands. So what I wanted to, I don't want to just sit here and lament about how sad I feel that my wife got to that point. Let me tell you that the lowest level of it was that she finally got a boyfriend who is like a rich young guy. And this was a total sex affair. I wrote about this in my other book called How to Marry and Keep a Supermodel. And she often told me her decision to have an affair was to punish me. I actually don't believe that. I think her decision to have an affair was that she didn't love me, didn't want me. There was a big emptiness in her heart. She met a guy that she fell in love with, and it was not about me at all. It was about her being in love with another man, and she just kind of went with it. It does not surprise me she had an affair, because I know how much she just thought I was a piece of garbage. One of the chapters in my book, How to Marry and Keep a Supermodel, is one woman's garbage is another woman's jewel. So one thing that all you wives have to understand is when you lose that respect for your husband, and there could be a million reasons why that happens. But let's forget about why it happens or how it happens. Let's just get to it, like what happens. What happens is you think your husband's a piece of garbage, you don't love him, you hate him, you think he's a loser. Okay, now, there are two things to think about right now. A, what should the husband do? B, what should the wife do? Looking back at it all, my experience, the husband should leave, okay? He should just say, bye. If you don't respect me, if you think I'm a loser, if you think I'm a piece of garbage, then obviously we shouldn't be together. That's a simple thing to do. And I want to encourage all husbands to just not take that kind of abuse. One of the things that my wife often told me, she was really upset that I basically said bye and got a divorce. And she told me, when I'm looking for a new woman, and both my sons are very well aware I'm looking for a new wife. And she said, you're teaching your sons in a very bad way. And I told her, I said, hey, I got news for you. I'm teaching them. If a woman ever abuses them, like you abuse me, that they got to leave that woman. And I do want to teach my sons that. And I also want to teach all men that. I don't want any woman, like if some woman came to me and said, my husband beats me every day, I would say, get the hell out of that marriage. And if a man came to me and said, my wife insults, berates, puts me down, spits on me, scratches me, and cuts my clothes, I would tell him, get the hell out of that marriage. Abuse is abuse, and nobody should put up with it. So that's one of my reactions to my wife was, hey, I'm teaching them something they need to know. And the good news is my sons know that very well. They also know what she did and how she did it. They are witnesses to it. She brought the guy home to our house. I mean, it was ridiculous what she did and how she did it. It was brutal. It was cruel. It was done in an open way with the specific desire to humiliate, to put down, to insult, and ultimately to emasculate. And so, remember, the word emasculate is to take the man out of a man. And it's the ultimate emasculation of a man. Like, if you think about it, you spit on him, you scratch him, you cut his clothes, and then you have a boyfriend that you bring to the house. And you do all that openly to him. Well, when you do all that, hello, you're going to lose that guy, okay? So the man ought to just leave. If you sit around, you're just going to get more of it. And if you get more of it, it just gets worse and worse and worse. It's really kind of like, it's just kind of like doing drugs over and over again. And somehow you think the drug is going to help you, and of course it never does. I got a lot of feedback from my wife. She kept telling me how, she became a Christian and, Jesus forgives and the family should be number one. And I'm like, you got to understand, nobody is meant to put up with this terrible abuse by you. Nobody. And Jesus doesn't want that. God doesn't want that. One of my theories about this, and I have a chapter in my book, Good Mom, Bad Wife. There's a chapter I have in there which is called God Wants You to Divorce. I have a theory that whether you believe in God or not, or let's call it nature, and that we were designed, and women specifically were designed to get into this abusive way for a reason. I believe nature wanted us to come together, make children, hold together for a while, and then bust apart. And the reason is they want the man to go out again and make new kids with somebody else. So the way nature does that is by formulating a system of hormones and chemicals in a wife that drive her to a point where whatever the man does, she just rips apart. I remember the way my mom told it to me. I'm a songwriter, and I did a song which I'm just so happy about. It's called Crying Song. If you want to hear it, please go to my Wife University website. Go to the video and audio presentation page, actually where this tape is, and you'll see it. It's there called EWM Promo, and it's a 4-minute video promo on my East-West Marriage TV show. And in it, a girl, Yan Wan Shi from Chengdu, who now lives in Sacramento, sings a song I wrote called Crying Song. The song, to me, I just love it, and to me it's just wonderful. Of course, I wrote it. I wrote the music for it also. Let me give you the words of it just so you get an idea what it's about. I'll always be with you, but now I got to go. I'll always love you, but now on my own. Great love can fall. Seems impossible. But I'm sorry, I said it wrong. Great love can fall from sky to ground. Seems impossible, but great love can fall. Lightning in air, thunder in clouds, rain coming down. Love is fragile, just like us. Love can shatter, hammer to glass. So please be careful, because great love can fall. From sky to ground, great love can fall. So that song is sung beautifully, I might add, by Jan. I encourage you to please go see it. But here's the reason I'm kind of segueing to that song is I was showing that to my wife, and I was, I had it all produced. I hired a band. We got it produced as like a, professional song with Jan singing it, and it was quite a bit of work to get her on it. Jan at the time did not exactly speak English, so she's a gifted singer, but it was quite a job to get her into the English words, which she was doing more phonetically without even knowing really what they meant. I was trying to explain the song to her, and I could tell she probably didn't really get it, but later I'm sure she got it. Her English now is really good. But anyway, when I played it for my wife at the time, I'm all excited. I think she's going to be going, oh, wow, what a great song. She herself is a musician. She plays piano, so, musicians normally would respect the work of other musicians, or at least you would think. Well, so here's what happened. She heard it, and here's her response. Straight from hell. I was like, wow. I was not expecting that insult on my song. And it's just a beautiful song. The irony is that the song kind of is straight from hell. I made it. It came to me. Let me tell you something of the way music comes to me. I don't choose the song. The song chooses me. And what I mean by that is I will wake up and there's a song in my brain that will not leave and will not leave me alone. The words are there, the music's there, it's a concert, okay, in my brain. And I didn't sit down and go, I want to think of a song. It's there. Well, this song came to me the day after I realized and learned in a very sad and devastating reality that my wife had a boyfriend, and she was in love with him and having sex with him all the time, and that was just the way it was going to be. By the way, I would like to say right now I'm driving in a farmland as I say this, and in front of me right now is some kind of a agricultural tractor device that has like 1 million blades on it, and it's kind of funny as I'm talking about this to see this device. I don't know exactly what it does, but it must chop up something here. I'm driving in an area in Sacramento between here and Stockton where a lot of grapes are grown. So we have a lot of vineyards and other farms here. Anyway, I just thought I'd let you know where I am right now. Thought you might get a kick out of that. So I learned my wife has a full-on sex affair with a younger man, and the song comes to me. It just, boom, it came to me. And I remember very well, I had to go to court that day in San Francisco, which is about a couple hours drive, and I was singing it the whole way to court, and then I was singing it the whole way back. And I gave it the title Crying Song. And when you hear Jan sing it, you'll see why it's called Crying Song. Of course, I know why it's called Crying Song, because the whole thing absolutely made me cry. Well, I was so excited to share this with her, my wife, and God, does she ever hate it. And, she just totally hated it. It was amazing. So I was telling my mom about it, and here's what my mom said. If you won an Academy Award, if that song went platinum, if it became the #1 song in the United States, she would still hate it. And I thought, God, you know what? I know my mom is right. Women are possessed of hormones and chemicals, what are called biochemicals. These are naturally formed chemicals in you that bring you to a point where you are designed and driven to hate your husband. You're supposed to. And man, are you good at it. And I mean really good at it. Some of the insults I've heard from her are champion insults. Let me give you an example of one. You are a fame whore who will never get the fame part, but got the whore part. Well, let me tell you, But what I want to talk about right now is what should happen when the wife gets to that point. The first thing the wife has to understand, as much as you want to hate that guy, guess what? Another woman will love him. She will take your garbage and it will become the jewel of her life. She will love him. She will take care of him. She will kiss him. She will say, my God, you're so handsome. You're so beautiful. You're so smart. Look at you. So you need to get real about that. You know, the molecular biology PhD I was telling you about earlier, guess what? He found another girl. And there is just no turning back. He will never be with that wife again. He's like, bye. And you know what he did? He left her and the kids. He's just like, I'm out of here. Now, let me tell you what happens when that happens. Of course, children need their father. This girl I have in mind has a daughter and a son. Let me tell you what the family dynamics are with the father being gone. A lot of times the boys will turn into bad boys. The daughters will end up with like a daddy complex and will end up getting involved in what's called sexually promiscuous behavior, which means they have a lot of sex. And typically with older men, they're craving the love of their father, and they, in a kind of confused way, they bring it out in the form of dating significantly older men. Now, when I mean older, I don't mean you're 20 and your boyfriend's 25. I mean you're 20 and your boyfriend's 40. Or you're 20 and your boyfriend's 50. Anytime you see that going on, that girl does not have a father in her life. I want to tell you, not solely and exactly. In my book, Good Mom, Bad Wife, this story goes on about a girl number 1, a girl number 2, and a girl number 3. Girl number 3, a very real girl in my life, a wonderful girl I might add, is 24. And we're very close. And I will tell you that she has a wonderful relationship with her father. Her dad's like a real solid guy. He's a police officer, and he's just a good guy and loves her and cares for her and talks to her all the time. So it's not one of those abandoned in China situations. But that goes on a lot. So here's what happens. The woman just doesn't control herself and just kind of goes off on her husband. And she does it over and over and over again. And I really believe this, not because she's really some kind of evil woman, but rather she is possessed of a biological function in the form of hormones and biochemistry, which are designed to push her in that direction. She's doing it because she's supposed to do it. You know, I look at nature like this. Please allow me to explain something. When you see something in nature happen over and over and over again, you got to understand it's by design. It's not a mistake. It's not a disorder. It's not something bad. It is the way it is supposed to be. And you can step back a step and ask yourself, who designed nature? Is that God? So God has made it, well, I'll give you an example. God has made it in China that many men very naturally abandon their daughters. Now, anyone would say that's just bad. But when it happens like 100 million times, and I'm not exaggerating when I say that. I mean, I haven't met 100 million of these girls, but I bet I've met 1,000. And I know that there are many, many more beyond those 1,000. I did not meet the only 1,000 to do that. So those young girls end up with older guys. Well, let me tell you the whole design factor here. The woman gets a little older after marriage and becomes a hater of her husband. You're a loser, you're a loser, you're a loser. You're going to see how I tie all this in. At the same time, so what does the guy do? He leaves. Trust me, he will. He leaves the family. The daughter misses the father, and she becomes, unfortunately, a promiscuous young girl in search of an older man Well, there are a whole lot of these young girls in search of an older man. I mean, let me tell you, when I say a whole lot of them, I mean a whole lot of them. I've seen many of these girls. I mean, I'm 54, and these are girls 24 years old saying, "Hey, baby, you want to date me? You want to come marry me?" So here's my choice, right? I've got a 42-year-old wife filled with hate and anger and bitterness, insults, feelings that I'm the biggest loser in the world. And then, on the other hand, I got a 25-year-old hot young girl who is devastated by the loss of her father, who, by the way, was ran out of the house by a wife just like my wife, okay? So this is all part of the circle of life I'm telling you about. The older man finds this younger woman, and they're not hard to find, let me tell you. They're just all over the place. The younger woman likes the older guy. All the stuff the wife hated about the guy. Oh, you're a songwriter, you want to write books, you want to do TV shows, you want to do talk shows. All that stuff is the very stuff that the young girl looks at and goes, "Wow, that is so cool, you're doing all that." Younger people are still in the mode of dreaming. And, middle-aged women, they do not like dreams. They just want you to shut up and just make money, and I don't want to hear about it. So there's a very natural flow. I mean, you can see the circle, right? The wife gets angry, insults the husband, he leaves, and finds the daughter of another wife who did the same thing to her husband, and her husband left, and her young daughter, missing that husband, gets a daddy complex and starts falling in love with older men. Well, those older men are just completely available. I mean, if we find a young, hot girl who says, "You're wonderful, I love you," well, hello, we're going to go with that. I mean, you can complain about it all you want, but let me tell you, we're going to go with that. I mean, let me have two choices. An angry, bitter, mean-ass older woman, or a loving, filled with passion, respectful younger woman. Guess which one I'm going to choose? Well, what I want to suggest is that this is all a magical design by God and by nature. This is the way it's supposed to be. And if you wonder, why would God or nature do that? The reason is nature wants more children. And with that older wife, it's done. She's not having any more kids. Done, over, end of story. But that younger girl hasn't had kids yet and needs to have kids. The men that are older, we want kids. We're not like a 25-year-old guy is all into his career. A 50-year-old man is in love with children. Like, give me another child. So I guess when it gets down to it, this loser issue goes like this. If you want to get rid of your husband, just keep doing it. Just keep on doing it. And he will leave. And I got news for you. He will find another woman. And he will have to abandon the family. And the consequences will be your daughter is going to turn into a very sexually active girl. That's just what is going to happen. The son will become, unfortunately, a bad boy. He will probably commit crimes, hopefully small ones, and he can get through it and over it. Hopefully you will remarry, and you will remarry to a good guy, the man that you think is not a loser, and hopefully you will not treat the new guy like you did your husband, and hopefully the new guy will take care of your son and keep him on a good path. But the way the story is told over and over again, probably not. It's probably going to be a sad story about that. So, from the perspective of the wife, I want to tell you guys, you girls, to either stop that or just get rid of the husband. You know, that's the choice. Now, let's suppose you do something that my wife did. She said, I am in love with this man. He is my number one choice. I absolutely hate you, but I am willing to sacrifice my love for the family because I want to keep the family together. And I want to make this family stay together. What can I do to make that happen? Let's suppose you decide that. Like you've decided, you know what? I need this man here. I mean, the molecular biologist story I told you about, that guy just went back to China, and he was just like, see ya. And that woman is so angry at him. And I'm like, honey, you chased him out of the house. I want to know how many wives will honestly fess up to that. My husband's gone. Okay, how did that happen? He's an asshole. He's not a man. He's a piece of garbage. Did you tell him that? Of course I did. How many times did you tell him that? About 1 million times. You chased him out of the house. Let's get with that right away. Now, you can say, well, he is all those things. He is a bad man. He is a loser. He's not a man at all. Well, remember the word I taught you, or I'm trying to teach you. Emasculate. Emasculate is when you take the man out of the man, and you make him not a man. I really believe this, that women complain about the man, but they make the man that way. You say he's not a man? Well, what did you tell him that made him not a man? I want to step back a little bit. What did you tell him? I bet you told him something. I bet you did something. My story, by the way, is an extreme story. Most wives aren't doing what my wife did, but most wives do something. The main crime is, I don't respect him, I don't love him, I think he's a loser. I don't care what you do, you'll never be a good wife like that. Never. And if you want to keep your husband, don't focus on what he needs to do to become, in your view, a winner. Focus on what you need to do to respect who he is. If you can't do that, and if you honestly just can't do it, you just got to cut him loose, because it's never going to be good. You'll just be a rude, cold, negative woman. And by the way, you don't want to be that way. I mean, you're probably a good, warm, loving person that if you're with the right guy that you respect. I mean, let me just tell you, my wife with her boyfriend, she loved that guy and she respected him immensely. She thought he was the greatest guy in the world, literally. You know, and I talk about him in my book. You'll laugh when you read about him. He 0 years in college. He's a high school grad. He's what we call a meathead, which means kind of a big, strong guy that has a very small brain. He works out at a gym all the time lifting weights, and he takes a kind of hormone supplement to add muscle to his body. They're called anabolic steroids. That's a medical term. I'll say it one more time. Anabolic steroids. And the reason I'm telling you about this is the steroids have a rather odd impact on men. Now, here's the good news for men. They add muscle to your body, so your chest and your arms and your legs, you know, you look like an Olympic guy. But for some weird reason, and I'm not sure why, they make it so your cock will not get hard. You get what's called ED, which is erectile dysfunction. They also make it smaller. And I mean, what man wants to put this onto himself? You know, my cock is smaller and won't get hard. To me, that would be like the last thing I would do. But this is what this guy did. He also went to a tanning salon to get a tan. You know, it's like, give me a break. I mean, what, you know, and he was a kind of a dark Italian guy anyway. So it's kind of like a dark Cantonese girl wanting to get a tan. It's like, come on, Anyway, this guy had all these kind of weird things about him. But he had inherited money from his grandmother, so he had a lot of money. And I'll tell you what, for my wife, money is the beginning and end of all of it. If you have money, you get respect. If you don't have money, you don't. Well, the college, the university professor I was telling you about, professors don't make a lot of money. They're very respectful people. My goodness, they've got these giant brains and they teach kids. He is filling the minds of kids with science so that they can go on and become scientists, medical doctors. What he's doing is really, really good. But she didn't give a shit. All she cared about is money, money, money. So you don't make enough money, you're a loser. She chased him out of the house. So here's the deal. Don't do it. But here's the second deal. When you do it, please understand that you are possessed with a system of biologically emitted biochemicals and hormones that are designed to make you do that. And you'll probably lose the war and just do it. And when you do it, your husband most certainly will leave. And also will find a younger girl, and you will be amazed that some young girl wants that old piece of garbage. That PhD, you don't think he's surrounded by a lot of hot young students? You don't think those young students look up to him and go, wow, you are brilliant, you're like a god, how do you know all this stuff? You don't think they came to him and said, honey, you don't think he started kissing one, and you don't think one thing led to another, and then another, and then another, and then they got married. Bingo. Trust me, we're going to find them. And you are going to be so upset. You're going to be, by the way, this mother I'm telling you about, she is so angry with her husband for doing that to her. It's like, honey, you did it to him. So I think one way, if there's ever a way I could get women to stop doing that, it would probably be to just explain the process and where it all ends. And where it ends is you're a single mom with 1 or 2 kids. Maybe another man will want to marry you. In China, no. You'll be a single mom forever. You'll never be married again. You'll have to come to USA. The good news is USA men will absolutely have you. Your husband, meanwhile, will absolutely connect up with a young, pretty girl and will probably have more kids with her. And he'll just replace you. He'll be like, well, I'm sad it didn't work out, and off he goes. And you're going to sit there in this bitter way of anger. And I know these women all too well. I've met them many, many times on the dating site. They're 38 to 42. They don't want any sex. They just they become man-haters. And God, who wants to date a man-hater? If you want to stop it, you're stopping a force of nature. That's the first thing I want you to know. But I know plenty of women who don't do it. So there must be a way not to do it. I'm not sure what that way is. And I only know the what of it. I'm not sure the why of it. I believe, like, how these women get there, I think is by nature's design. And the purpose of that design is to force the man out of the house so he finds a new girl and has a new family. And it's done in a cyclic way because, like clockwork, that girl that he has, the daughter, will become a sexually active woman who wants another older guy that some other woman chased out of the house. I look at it all as a design, and the end of the design is that you, the wife, you're left alone with a couple kids, and you can't handle it. You cannot do it. The boy starts to get unruly. He starts engaging in criminal conduct. The more you yell at him, the more he just doesn't give a shit about what you're saying. He starts to lose respect for you. You chased my dad out of the house. You're gonna start hearing that from your son. The daughter thinks you're just the stupidest woman in the world. She loves her father. And why the hell did you speak so disrespectfully to my daddy? What's the matter with you? You're going to have some serious relationship issues with your kids. It is not going to be happy for you. In the end, he gets a new young hot girl and a new family. And you're stuck with two kids that hate your guts and think you are terrible, and you're bitter and angry and can't find another guy ever. So, with that terrible ending, how about it, girls? Don't do it. How about it? So, here's my idea. It is a force of nature. Number one, men need to know that, and they'll understand what you're doing once they know it. It's not that you're some terrible, evil person maybe, but you're undergoing a biochemical, hormonal process designed by nature. Fight it. Fight it. Don't let it win. You win. Here's how you do it. For every time you call your husband some terrible name, you make sure you make up for it with at least 3 times the amount of positive behavior. When I say positive behavior, there's a lot of ways to do it. I mean, one way to do it is to get on your hands and knees, pull your blouse down, expose your breast to him, open your mouth, and say, feed me, baby, feed me, baby. That's one way to do it. And by the way, you may think, oh, God, this guy's crazy. I can't even believe he said it. But let me tell you, if you did that, your husband would forgive you. Okay? If you don't do that, he'll just leave you. So the choice is yours. Who's crazy? Let me ask you this. Who's crazier? The man like me who says that's what you should do when you screw up, or the woman who refuses to do it, watches her husband walk away and sees a family dynamic go down on her where her daughter becomes a slut, her son becomes a criminal, and they both hate her for running dad out of the house. You tell me who's crazier. You gonna let that happen? I got news for you. You're crazy. And you're gonna be doomed. And I don't want to see that happen. I want you, remember one of the things I said about Wife University. I want you to get married. I want you to stay married. So, I believe in this. You're not going to stop the process. It's a force in nature that's more powerful than you are. You're going to do these things. But here is what you are in control of. You're in control of your mouth. You're in control of your pussy. After you do it, you can suck him and fuck him in a good way. You can say, I'm sorry, honey. I love you. I respect you. I am just overtaken by some demon inside of me. Please forgive me. And you know what? Here's the good news about men. We're big. We will forgive. We really will. We will forgive you. And we will give you a 3rd chance, a 5th chance, a 50th chance, a 100th chance, a 1000th chance. But you got to do something on your end. You got to kind of come around our way. I hope this has been useful. I hope you'll reflect on this. I hope you will save your marriage, save your family, keep it all together under one roof. And that's why I'm telling you this, and that's why I created Wife University. Thank you for listening. There'll be a new session soon.